Jawaharlal Nehru University, or JNU as is commonly known, is one of the most premier universities of India. The university boasts of a large alumni consisting of PhD scholars, research scholars, bureaucrats, journalists, and several other people of repute. Interestingly, even our current Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharamanji and our Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also, interestingly, are JNU alumni. However, unfortunately, the university was in news in the past couple of years, sadly for all wrong reasons. It started when a group of students did some sloganeering which talked of things like disintegration of India, Bharat tere tukde honge, as is got to be known. Very often when it happens, and it obviously led to a lot of controversy surrounding JNU when people talking about shutting down JNU and whatnot. But as it usually happens in such debates and discussions, it usually revolves around the notions of the left wing and right wing, or of nationalism or anti-nationalism. And in between all of this, usually the saner voices get lost. Interestingly, today we have a book written by a JNU professor himself, Dr. Makarand Paranjape, and the book is JNU, Nationalism and India's Uncivil War. I read this book, and what I would like to say that this book looks at the various issues surrounding JNU in a very sensible manner, free from the clutches of a left wing or a right wing solution, free from the clutches of what is nationalism, what is anti-nationalism. I read this book, I really enjoyed reading the book, and this is what I will be discussing today. Keep watching. Hello everyone, welcome once again to Books Wale Bhaiya. I am Abhishek, and as I just mentioned, today I'll be talking about a book which talks about JNU. In fact, it just not talks only about JNU, but rather what is actually wrong with our education system, our higher education system, and several other things which in general you can say is wrong about our society as such. So yes, to begin with, we all know JNU was in the news for, unfortunately, several wrong reasons, such as sloganeering, such as student politics, disappearance of two students there. So as I said, all wrong reasons. So this book, however, takes a view of all these things, and importantly, this is authored by the JNU professor Dr. Paranjape himself, who has been teaching in JNU since almost 20 years, a little more than 20 years now. I think it's 21 to be precise. So while talking about these problems, at the very outset, I would like to tell you, if you are expecting something that he is talking about shutting down JNU, or he is talking about giving some stern reply to the leftist ideologues and all, no, this book does not talks about any extreme kind of steps. This book does not makes anyone a hero or a villain. Rather, it takes a very you can say sensible approach to solving the problem associated with JNU and as such with our higher education system. So to begin with, this book talks about all the controversies that happened in 2016 when sloganeering by some students led to one controversy or the other. And then this book talks about his own journey. So it's part memoir, you can say, how Dr. Paranjape, who teaches English, moved to JNU, and which was not actually the original plan. It was not his plan to move to JNU. He was teaching at IIT Delhi. He was pretty much happy working there, but as you can say, it was destined for him to move and teach at JNU. So he talked about the controversies that erupted, and then he was, you can say, in a way in the eye of the storm as he confronted some of the students directly to understand what they want to say. And he expressed his displeasure over such sloganeering and some of what he found unjust demand of the students. He was once even stopped from moving to his particular department because there was some strike called by students, and he has talked about all of this in his book, and many of the faculty members then went against him and expressed their disagreement with what Dr. Paranjape had in mind and wanted to say. This book also contains what rebuttal or what replies he gave to the faculty members which actually disagreed with him. He, however, of course, does not agree with any kind of sloganeering or such activities taking place, which took place in the JNU campus, because and interestingly, instead of saying anything against JNU, he shows his, you can say, love and respect for JNU as an institution, because he says that JNU is an institution which is known for academic excellence, which is known for dissent and debate. And so while in the name of dissent and debate, he, however, feels that those who label themselves as liberals are somewhere going wrong. As in the liberals, he says, are becoming illiberal, is that what they are saying is, on the one hand, it's a little extreme, and at the same time, they are becoming illiberal to other viewpoints. So while instead of pinpointing anyone in particular, he's talking about what exactly is, you can say, wrong with the liberal ideology at this stage, largely in the context of India, you can say, or Indian society. So when the liberals put forward their viewpoints, as JNU is largely known for a liberal environment or a leftist, some people even call it a leftist university. So he has mentioned what he found wrong with the liberals approach, and he has provided answers to why he thinks, what he thinks those people are wrong. However, as I said, he doesn't hold any extreme views against anyone and sensibly makes out his point and what he finds wrong. So in this context, he also talked about one of the lectures he gave in the JNU campus, in which he talked about Rabindranath Tagore. So as I said, many liberals take nationalism, as pointed out by Rabindranath Tagore, that nationalism is bad, is extreme, and they use it as an excuse many times to counter the current BJP government, which they consider as a very hyper nationalist government. But he says that what Tagore talked about was written in a particular context at the time of world wars, and we just cannot accept every word as it is. And other than this, interestingly, when he talks about making the changes, he comes with no radical solution, but he points out one very important thing, that JNU, to make sure these kind of things, the JNU doesn't get into news for wrong reasons, the JNU has to move back to what it was meant for any university, for they were meant for pursuing academic excellence, prioritizing education over politics. This, in his view, is a very simple and very important solution to end many of the woes it is currently facing. He does not talk of any going against the leftist ecosystem and doing some extreme steps. Interestingly, he points out that a solution to what we find wrong with the extreme left can never be introducing some extreme right kind of policies. The solution to left wing is not you can say right wing, but rather doing what actually is required. And he gives a simple solution, the state of pursuing academic excellence and ensuring nothing else is as critical. He also points out, he finds flaws with some of the other demands of the students and student unions. For example, the hostel charges, on which he believes are anyway ridiculously low. So even some increase there is, he finds that a protest over that was somewhat unnecessary. So while agreeing that JNU caters to a lot of underprivileged students and all, but talking about the hostel charges and everything, he says that some rationalization is also important. Interestingly, while talking about finding out flaws with JNU as such, he is not the only one who finds flaws with only the left wing of the students union. He, for example, mentions that he finds some of the steps taken by the vice chancellor also as wrong, although he has lot of respect for the then vice chancellor. And he mentioned I have immense respect for him. He's a well-known academician. But what I found wrong with his approach, I also mentioned it. As for example, he talks about bringing a tank into the university premises with a view of making sure that students learn about the army sacrifices. He somewhat believes not the right approach. So he's someone, as I mentioned, does not look at things purely from the point of view of left wing and right wing, but doing only what is required at a particular stage. In the end, he also talks about what is wrong with our education system. For example, talking of reservations, he says that any country wherein we face these problems of the caste issues of people being underprivileged due to monetary and other reasons, the core solution lies in the primary education and not in the higher education. So I think to reform JNU, we need to look at such kind of solution instead of doing a gherao or doing some protest or labeling someone as left wing or anti-national or any such thing. So as I said, in this flux of extreme voices, some calling someone anti-national, some calling someone a die-hard leftist or a liberal or a conservative, Dr. Paranjape comes up with a solution which I found to be very sane and very practical. In fact, in the last chapter, he has a complete list of solutions which he thinks should be done for JNU. And trust me, nothing in there is actually any kind of extreme viewpoints. One book which I would say everyone should read, not just to understand the problems with JNU, but to understand the problems with our higher education system, with our political system, or with the entire education system as well. No matter whether you're a left-wing or right-wing ideologue, no matter whether you agree or disagree with the happenings in JNU, if you really care about, you can say, Indian education system, Indian polity, Indian society, I would say read this book, because it has a lot of information which I think you will find sane and practical. Well, this is it. Thank you very much for watching the video. If you think I did a good job, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you.